All right, we're going to talk about Xenon and example-driven development. Today I'm going to show you how to create a new project, a new Xenon service, and use the fitness example-driven development framework, or acceptance testing framework, to create examples. We're going to walk all the way through creating your project, to building your fixtures, to running and making them pass. With Xenon. We're going to focus on we're going to use the new Xenon Quickstart Maven archetype type. So let me show you the new Quickstart. It has a README, and in the README it has an example of what you can do with it. Quickstart README. So to create, once you've assumed downloaded and installed Xenon, which I'll leave you to do that through reading that wiki, you can then generate an archetype of the Xenon Quickstart type and give it your information, and it'll build a new project for you. So I've got that set up here. You can see I'm going to generate a Xenon Quickstart in the VMware Calypso group called the OSVC Xenon Starter package. And that just takes a moment to copy the relevant files over, and then we're going to use IntelliJ to import this project. We made it with the Maven archetype, and there we go. Move it over here for us. Okay. So what we see inside of this starter package is that there is an employee service, and an employee service has an employee that has a name and a manager. First, make sure that your IntelliJ has the plugin for fitness installed. Let's go down to the plugins and check that. It's very simple to do. And if that does, then you can go to your starter, your project, and we're going to create a folder that the examples will live in. So, give it a second. Since I reloaded the plugins page, it wants to rescan stuff. Make it a folder for the examples. And we're going to create an example fitness file that is going to be the employee example. Employees have and with example-driven development, you're going to first create some sort of documentation, some prose that describes your class. This is what I really like about fitness. So employees have a name and a manager link, and support basic REST operations. So, at this point, we get to just make it up and create a wiki table. For those who are familiar with how fitness works, and you give it the name of a class that'll be the shim between your tests and the real code. In this case, we'll just call it the employee fixture. And then you decide what properties you're going to set, and then what things you're going to compare. I'll give you an example. Let's just say that we're going to do an action, like an HTTP verb, to a URL. We're going to give a name and a manager, potentially, and then we're going to expect some sort of response. It's a wiki table, so you're going to separate everything with the pipe character. So let's just start with, if we were to do a get at / right, on our service, so this is all relative to our service. and we're not going to send in a name or a manager, I would expect that the response would be the template. So the template would give us the name, which would be null, and the manager, which would be null. If you press Option and Command L, it'll format this all for you to make it look a little nicer. That saves a lot of typing. So that's great. If we went to get the employee 0 resource, I would expect that we would get an error response, some sort of 404 or whatnot, and it'd be blank. So then, let's just say we post to the employee 0 document a name of CEO whose manager is the CEO, right? He's his own manager. Well, now I'm going to expect that I would get a name CEO back and manager employee 0. And now if I went and did a get to employee 0, I would expect that I would also, wouldn't send anything. I would expect that I would still get the name CEO and the manager employee 0. Now if I deleted employee 0, well, here I would still expect to get the document that I deleted back. Awesome. And now though, that I've deleted it, I'd expect that if I went to get employee 0, that lo and behold, I would not get a document. I'd be back to how I started. Okay. And that is the example. So this is really what drives the whole development process. Now, IntelliJ has got some cool features for making my life easier. One of those is that I can hold down the option, I can click on something that's got an error in it, I can click Option, Return, and it will give me an ability to create a class for this. So I'm going to put this in Palm VMware Calypso fixtures in the test area. And so great, we've got our employee fixture. Our action needs to be a function on the employee fixture. So it also still gives me the same ability. I can just Option and Return, and it will give me the autocomplete to just create that method. And I can just go through the whole thing really quickly and create all of those methods in my fixture. Saves a bit of typing for the bullet point, boilerplate. Oh, response. We need to put a question mark at the end of that, and that tells it to call the function and get the response and compare it to what I've put here. So let's go ahead and let it create that. All right. Now here's a couple of gotchas in the difference between the fit library and the fit plugin for IntelliJ. You need to type the whole class path for it to actually work when you go to run it. But that autocomplete doesn't understand this. When it goes to create it. And then these need to be actually exist. So, and they can be public or private, but it doesn't matter. Public, oh, I think it needs to be public string action URL name manager. You can do it that way, but I like to use the IntelliJ's code generate. There we go. Okay, now this is going to be the function, right? All of these functions will have been called and set these properties, and now this is the function that's going to get called to do the actual work. Right now, let's just have it return minus, and we'll get back to actually writing this in a second. Let's make sure that we can run our examples and make sure that they fail. So in order for this to run, we need to create a configuration for it, a run configuration, and we just choose the fitness. And we will say, oh, the fitness root directory that we created was examples over here, and the wiki page that we're going to run is the employee fixture. And you got to use the class path of the module. And hit OK. And now we should be able to hit run. We should also be able to put, we'll hit run and I'll go there. We should also be able to debug. Examples employee. There we go. Now I can run it. It's going to make the project. Three seconds to compile. The process is running. All right. Executing command, error starting the fitness, error loading, fitness launch, executing 404. Do things in ever so slightly different orders. Ever so slightly different things happen. Maybe you caught that. What example? Okay. Now, wonderful. Employee fixture is not a fixture, which is true. It's not. Employee fixture extends. Now, let's talk a little bit about fixtures. Fixtures are the glue in between your examples and your production code, and they really give you a lot of flexibility to translate between what you put in the examples, which can be free form, and turn it into something that is kind of code. There's a lot of different types. We're going to use the column fixture today, which allows us to, you give it a path to a fixture, you give it some properties, and then have it call functions and tell you, compare the results. There's other fixtures, action fixtures and rows, and we won't go into those today, but maybe we'll later on. So, column fixture, which this is kind of another nice thing about IntelliJ. We could have put this stuff in the Palm, but we're going to let IntelliJ do it for us. Add Maven dependency, and then it'll just find it in the fitness library. Here it is, right here. And they've got a 2015. It's kind of old, but it'll do. Now we can import the class, and we can run it again. Go. Now we actually have a failure. So one test ran and it failed, and kind of give you some details about exactly what happened. Here we are. The name and manager was null, was what we said we expected, but actually we just got the minus back, right? Which makes sense because that's all we implemented in our fixture. Is we're going to do the minus. We hit the breakpoint here. We hit debug. Let's see exactly what's going on. And you look at this in the employee fixture, we can see that we're doing the get URL minus minus call. We'll do the next one, the next one, the delete call, the get call. All right. We're going to pause here, and then we're going to go through and implement this fixture with Xenon and get it running. So watch for the next one.